Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Life here, and I'm not alone, as you can probably tell from the fact that I said I'm not alone. I'm joined by Mr. Zed.
It's me, the EDM artist you all know and love, right here. Bet you didn't know that. Just kidding.
Not only, but also Mr. J.
That's me. I don't like when people pronounce the other syllables of my name. It makes me very angry. Even though
other
it's all
syllables.
one syllable.
I was going to say, if you wanted to get technical, you could say the other phonemes.
There you go. Just use the first one.
Good thing we're probably about to use his name a lot in this video.
This video is about leaks, hence the title. The title being leaks. Yes, we're going to be talking about leaks because, core blimey, there have been a lot going around recently, and it's not something that we sort of like have actually tackled, I don't think. Certainly not as a trifecta, because leaks are a big and notable part of what we do. But are they a good? Are they a bad? Do bees have lips? We will find out in this video.
The bees again.
So, as you know, a leak is a bit of information that is true. We're not going to be talking about rumors or anything like that, but leaks, actual leaks, getting out before they are supposed to be officially announced. And interestingly, very recently, there was a leak that sort of came to a head for Pokemon Sword and Shield. The lawsuit finally went through, and the two individuals were in each who leaked from a strategy guide, I think, that wasn't published, were both fined $150,000 each, which for individuals, that, I mean, even for a small company, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's so much money. It just makes you think, is it even worth it? No, of course it's not. People are going to find out this information in a few months anyway. And that's one thing that doesn't really get talked about, is the consequence of leaking. And, I mean, I won't bring up any actual instances, but I have heard from people in the past that people have lost their jobs from information getting out early. So it can be really damaging if it's not done respectfully and with the people whose information it is in mind.
It's a very daring thing for somebody to do, to leak any information like this. I mean, at the end of the day, realistically, from like a social point of view, leaks about video games aren't going to cause like the downfall of civilization or anything like that. It's not going to overthrow governments or anything, you know, to that degree, but certainly for a lot of particularly maybe smaller companies, admittedly, they'd be less affected by leaks. You know, it can definitely affect sales, therefore income, and as a result, bad.
They can completely ruin reveals as well. Like Mario 3D All-Stars was something that was revealed and announced in like a 2 or 3 week window, but it was leaked way back at the start of the year. Now clearly that had no impact on sales. The game still sold more than Mario Galaxy 2, which is crazy for a compilation, but it clearly changed their plans for how they were going to announce the game, and it kind of made expectations a bit too high. And then when it came along, everyone was really sour on this game. And again, it didn't affect sales, but still, it did change perception.
Yeah, I wonder how we would have all felt, you know, seeing that in the moment without knowing that it was coming. And because, you know, you look at things like how Metroid Dread was announced, or Advance Wars 1+2 reboot camp remake game
Classic
thing.
title.
Yeah, gotta love it, right? And you know, the way that those were announced, it completely caught us off guard. It surprised us. I know you, John, have like been begging and hoping for Metroid Dread, but it's still like to actually see it happen without hearing, you know, anything from Nintendo or from any leaks or anything it was mind blowing, and
it was magic.
Yeah, absolutely. And leaks, it's interesting to hear how leaks can affect, you know, somewhat a singular person's personal life, or, you know, just for being sued or fined or whatever, because, you know, we hear that all the time about emulation, it seems, or I feel like we run stories at least on people getting sued for emulation or things like that, and or at least that's more in the media, but you don't hear it as much for leaks, and it's just, I don't know, leaks don't, at the end of the day, it doesn't really seem like leaks are really helping anyone. More or less, it's just like someone hears something and they feel like they have to tell someone, and then, you know how the story goes. Someone else tells someone else, another person tells their friend, and then they tell their grandpa, and then their grandpa. He cannot keep his mouth shut.
You can't stop Grandpa.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's all over Twitter, just tweeting out all this information.
I guess it also depends where the leaks even come from, because sometimes developers themselves want to get this info out there, because developers and marketing teams aren't the same people. I'm not saying this is the same for every single leak, because it can be dangerous at times, but sometimes the developer just wants to share their work. But other times, it can be really dangerous. Like, people can hack into systems and steal data, and that's where I am not on board. Like, the Giga Leak happened, and there's some fascinating stuff in there. It was great to see this history of Nintendo that was never really brought to light. But the dangerous side is people's personal information was part of that, and that's way too far.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that people... It's a very natural instinct to have information that either you shouldn't know or somebody else shouldn't know, and to be able to sort of spread that and to get that information out there. It's kind of a rush. You kind of feel a sense of power. But, and it is fun. And I'm not going to lie, when I have heard about leaks and things like that, and, I've heard information before I'm supposed to or anything like that, it is kind of a rush, but it does, as we mentioned earlier, it kind of sours the reveal.
Yeah. Like, Monkey Ball Banana Mania was leaked a couple of days before the Direct reveal, and I think I'd be losing my mind if I saw that within the Direct itself. But instead it was like, oh yeah, here it is. That should have been a giant deal, but it was kinda, I guess, it was blown a bit from us already knowing about it.
Yeah, and it's really tough too, especially being in the position that we're all in. If we see information like that, it's tough, because do we share it? Do we talk about it? Do we hold it back? To keep people, keep some of that magic alive. But at the same time, people want to know this stuff, and it's just so hard and frustrating. And you brought up a good point, John, too, with the fact that sometimes leaks are just completely accidental, where someone will share something on LinkedIn, or something will get uploaded before it was supposed to, or sent live before the fact. It's not always people just stealing and saying things that they aren't supposed to. It's just it's tough, because the industry we live in now, where people can, whoever has the keys to Nintendo's Twitter, this is just an example, but anybody could go on there and just post something, and even if it's only up for a minute, so many other sites and YouTubers and things will be resharing it and talking about it, and there's almost no taking it back once something has just been sent out onto the internet.
And I suppose also, like, reveals are made to be curated in the most accurate way possible. Like, Metroid Dread, if it weren't for the build-up of the title reveal, that trailer would have been significantly less powerful, but because it's called Dread, that made it powerful. But sometimes leaks or rumors don't have the full story in them. Like, I remember with Origami King, that was rumored for a little while, but it was basically communicated as Paper Mario going back to its roots, which isn't really what Origami King is. I mean, it kind of does in a sense, but I think that built up expectation for like a return to proper turn-based combat like the first two games, and that's really not what that game was, and that was kind of unfair. Because Origami King does some great stuff, but it was kind of judged on those merits because that's what people were expecting it to be.
Yeah, when I suppose it wasn't even, Nintendo didn't come out and say that this was going to be a back-to-basics Paper Mario, but, somewhere along the line, I'm not as familiar with the leak itself, but yeah, somewhere along the line, yeah, everybody heard that, and that's not what they're expecting now, and that's not good. It's not healthy. These are unhealthy leaks.
I know it's technically not a leak per se, but everyone was referring to it as one at the time. I'm sure you guys remember the Grinch leak.
Wow!
What a time!
That was a unique time to be in the industry. I don't, sort of. We're not that privy to a load of special information, but I think it would be fair to say that between the three of us and the rest of our colleagues on the site and everything, we've got a pretty good idea of what is a real leak and what isn't. And as soon as I saw the Grinch leak, I was just like, nah, Nah, there's just something. There was just something a little bit too perfect about it, and it turned out to be false. I don't know what your opinions were at the time, John, not being with us.
Well, the culture around it was very tough because everyone wanted it to be real, and they kind of convinced themselves it was. And I didn't put a firm stance against it, but I definitely put a stance saying I didn't believe it was real. And because of that, I got quite a bit of backlash. And even when it turned out to be false, like that culture kind of persisted. So it brings out the worst in some people, which can be frustrating because I know they have the best intentions. They want what they want to be real, and when it's not, that backfires. Which, as I was saying earlier, it just creates these expectations that can't really be met, and it's not really fair to anyone.
Least of all the developers. I mean, because these are people who've been pouring God knows how many hours into each and every game that they that they release. And, you know, to have all that hard work they've been building up, working arguably essentially in secret for, potentially years, and then all of a sudden to have all that work be spoilt. It's like if you were planning this surprise gift for someone and then a mate of yours let slip to, the person you were going to give the gift to, oh yeah, they, did you like your gift from so-and-so, the beanbag, I want a beanbag. I've got a beanbag. I don't use it. And that it's the same principle. It's that sort of build up and that expectation, the excitement, the work that you put in, all the passion, the effort, and then suddenly it just gets completely dashed in a single move. And, for what? For a few minutes of fame for someone? The problem is with leakers is that they can't ever really, the actual leakers themselves can never really have any fame, because they need to keep their identity a secret. And so you get go-betweens. There's quite a few prominent ones on Twitter and things like that. And, sort of no disrespect to them whatsoever, but as a result, the leakers themselves, the people who are actually revealing the information, basically get nothing out of it and potentially damage the company they're working for.
They kind of damage themselves too. I mean this in the most respectful way. But if a leaker who's been proven accurate in the past, if they get something wrong, people aren't going to remember all their past accuracies. They're going to be like, well, you got this wrong. I'm angry at you. So that there's no winning. And also, if they do get something wrong as well, like let's say with Smash, for instance, I remember before the reveal, there were a few people on Twitter pointing towards this insider from GameFAQs, and they were saying, it's Master Chief. He's going to be the Smash character. And of course, it was a guy from Tekken. So it was unfair on that reveal, because that is, I mean, to a subset of gamers, that was a cool reveal. But instead, people are like, this isn't Master Chief, this isn't what was promised, when it was never what was promised.
Yeah, so do you guys happen to know how Metroid Dread came to be back in the day? Like how the public learned about it? Because that, I don't recall Nintendo ever sharing any public documents, or, there was never any trailers or anything like that for that game. So was that like a leak, or was that just like a thing that the press learned about and shared with us?
Well, as it happens, we've got a very handy video going over the entire history of the game.
But to summarize, it was initially in Game Informer, and then later down the line, the official Nintendo magazine listed it as an upcoming release. So it was never like formally announced. There's no trailer or screenshots or anything like that. But it was listed not only in the Nintendo magazine, but also in their 2006 release calendar. So they did definitely, it was official. Mm-hmm. They just never really properly unveiled it.
So I guess my thought with that was, if it was a leak, let's say, then that clearly Metroid Dread was a game that Nintendo should not have talked about that early on, or Game Informer apparently, because it took them, what was it, 16, 19 years? I mean, regardless, it's a long time to make. Or to finalize some ideas, or make it with the technology that they could only, that they needed. But I think if we didn't learn about Metroid Dread back in the day, maybe the game that we would have got today wouldn't still be Metroid Dread. So in a scenario like that, where if and I understand Metroid Dread was not a leak then back in the day, but if it was, and it kind of gained, this sort of notoriety, or this this culture around it, in that case, a leak wouldn't be that sort of leak wouldn't be so bad in the end, almost. If what I'm saying makes sense, I'm trying to think of a modern day scenario where that has happened.
Well, you know what it kind of is a good leak? I think was Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Because it sounded absurd, like Mario crossing over with the Rabbids, and I think we needed that time to kind of process that. Because if it were shown at E3, we would have gone, what on earth is this? But we went in, we were bracing a Mario and Rabbids crossover, and because of that, I think we kind of appreciated it a bit more, because it looked awesome.
Yeah, when I first saw the leaks and the reports and things like that there was going to be a Super Mario and Rabbids crossover, I remember just thinking, no, it's just no. I mean, that's so ludicrous. How could it possibly be true? And what does this, this person making this thing up think? They're trying to. I don't know what I was thinking, but the end result was in that instance that my radar was completely bloody off because it turned out to be true. And I agree with you, John. I think it did help us to kind of, I suppose, normalize the idea a little bit, give it that bit of build-up, as you say. And then, as a result, we actually were able to enjoy it, I think, a little bit more. Because it's still a bit jarring, I'm not going to lie.
It's weirdly normal now, though, to see Mario dual-wielding guns in the new trailer. It should never be normal, but somehow it is.
I'm sure there are other examples as well of leaks that have been good, if only for things like leaks about games having, just off the top of my head, like microtransactions or something. And then, sort of the response is, immediately, oh my god, that's terrible, stop it, whoever you are, the developers. And the developers take note of that and then change it. I can't think of any instances, but I'm sure that must have happened. And whether it was a leak or an intended dribble of information, I think the term is, it's not. But, sort of an intentional leak, because those do happen. They absolutely do. Whether they happen in this industry or not, I don't know. But in industries, those do happen. Companies will leak their own information, sometimes to gauge public interest. It's getting very thick of it in my head at the moment, which if anyone has seen that, they know immediately what I'm talking about. If not, you've got no idea.
Very well put, Alex.
So I've got a question for you guys, a sort of an ultimatum, or a sort of a theoretical ultimatum. If you could 100% stop all leaks for the rest of existence, any leaks to do with anything gaming related or anything like that, and you had this big shiny red button that you could just whack and it would stop them. They never exist, not in any way, shape or form. No monkey's paw nonsense here, just you stop them. Would you press the button? John?
No. To be honest, no. I think leaks can be really exciting and make speculation and discussion fun. But with the caveat that I'd love for developers and publishers to be more free with the behind-the-scenes nature of games. Like all the cool concept art and things that we're not meant to see come out from leaks. Like things like the Giga Leak. There's builds from the N64 era that we never got to see before, and it's great seeing that stuff. And I just wish developers would be more free with that, so they didn't have to be leaked.
Xeon?
So I'm probably, I don't think I'm not going to lose sleep over this, but I think this decision is not, I might change my mind in a few days, because I'm definitely going to be thinking about this a little more over the next few days. But I think I would say yes. I would hit the button and shut off all of the leaks, because it's great to speculate. It's a lot of fun to talk about, and some of these leaks, if these things get canceled down the road, or like John said, some of the concept art and the preliminary ideas that come out are really interesting, and leaks are sometimes the only way that we learn about these things. But on the other side, the other side of that, there's a lot of people, like you said, Alex, that are putting so much time and effort into this. And if I was preparing a special birthday surprise for somebody, or a gift that I was pouring my entire life and my soul into, and part of this gift is the fact that, I want them to be surprised about it, and someone comes through and takes that away from me completely, I have nothing to do with this leak. This is somebody else doing this just for what? For just 5 seconds of fame, and what sort of fame even is it? I think as somebody who, like I don't create a lot of things in my life, but I know that I love surprises. And I know what it's like to be on the side of creating something and having it spoiled, and not on the degree of making a video game. I can't. Maybe someday I'll learn exactly how that feels. But yeah, I think I would shut them down just because of how much people care about the surprise, and it hurts the expectation a little bit too, because now we're expecting something. It's like, I mean, not everybody's going to feel that way, but you have people out there that they learn that they have a birthday party coming up now, and now they hope it's the best thing on the planet, and that's not good. That's not healthy.
Yeah, I'm
so where do you sit, Alex?
Yeah, I'm about to explain, Xeon. I'm properly torn, but I do think if I was forced to give one response or the other, I think I'd push the button, just like Xeon. I really think that whilst leaks can sometimes be a positive thing, it is overwhelmingly outweighed by the negatives. I'm not suggesting for a moment that we should stop bullying the big giant corporation or anything like that. The big corporate side of things. Realistically, I don't care. It's a big business, people looking at numbers and making money. I don't care. But it's the people, and certainly with something like video games, it's the people who actually make the things, the creatives, the artists, the developers, the coders, the programmers. I've probably repeated several job descriptions then. They have done all of this work. They've poured all of this time in. And what right do people have to suddenly take control of that in terms of letting the world know? I don't think that's fair, and there are some instances, I want to reiterate, where yes, leaks can be a good thing. But I do think 99% of the time, leaks inherently hurt more than they help.
Yeah, we're not entitled to any of this stuff, of course. And I do agree with both of you. I think I'll still take my stance that I'd rather have them in the world, but not all of them are equal. Some of them are way too damaging, and I'd rather not have them at all.
I mean, in an ideal world, I'd like to hit the button but have it only affect the bad leaks, but that wasn't the ultimatum, Right. Good leaks and little bits of information, I think the smaller a leak is, the better it is. There are exceptions like the Giga Leak, but for contemporary instances, if you were to hear that, Nintendo's working on a new Super Mario RPG, the Super Mario RPG 2, the game, or you were to just hear that Nintendo's working on something, a new IP, just something small like that, a little taster, a little nugget of intrigue. I think they are generally okay. They're generally good. But it's when you get things like, just outright facts that just spell things out. Like the new fighter in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate will be the Min's.
And then we cry.
I don't actually think Min was leaked. I mean, it was hard to, because they were just like, hey, next fight is going to be from ARMS. So that really narrowed it down in terms of just the number of video game characters.
When you said Minions, I thought you meant minions, and that's why I said that's why we cry.
Oh no.
I know.
I don't like Chris Melodrandi. I don't know whether I've mentioned that.
You've got to get it in. Every chat has to.
I think I've heard that before.
I think the culture around leaks is what has to change the most. I don't like LinkedIn surfing. I think it's weird to look on someone's profile or scavenge around to find employees and see what they're working on. That's meant for professional instances. I don't like that stuff.
Oh, that
People
is
would
strange.
be thoroughly disappointed if they looked at my LinkedIn page.
It's going to reveal all his upcoming videos. Puts them all there for
I
everyone
don't
to see.
think I've updated it in about 5 years.
Hey everybody, or hello there, lovely LinkedIn people. Alex only from Nintendo Life here. Just wanted to update you on the coming weeks. I love this.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Leaks or something? I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm glad that you asked that question, because now we know that John, you can go ahead and you can drink the water from your duck pond or your garden of the gods, and Alex and I we'll just sit over here watching that button We're gonna press that every time. Every time we see a leak out there, we're just gonna. No.
What are you talking? Are you referring to like the Garden of Eden or something?
What?
I don't
Yeah,
quite understand.
huh?
What you mean? The fruit of knowledge is now the water in the duck pond. I mean, that's a very liberal interpretation.
I didn't say that, did I?
Pretty sure you did.
I just wanted to
Jesus.
tell John that he can drink water out of a duck pond. That was really all.
I think John knows he can drink water out of a duck pond. It may not be medically advised, but socially, 100%.
You're welcome,
No
John.
doctor can stop me.
Okay, well, on that nice and relevant finish, that's that's us on leaks. I think there's nothing really else to say, except that whenever it comes to covering leaks, we always try and err on the side of caution. I think that's fair to say, isn't it? Certainly on the channel.
Yeah. And I don't mind how people interpret or appreciate leaks themselves. Like, enjoy the discussion to your extent, but everyone's going to be a bit different.
Yeah, and definitely, like, leaks, like you guys have already said too, leaks can be fun, even though, they can be harmful too. And, they can be a lot of fun to chat about and speculate, and that's the best part about them, I think, is, when we can try to be calm and civil and not let our expectations, go awry. Like, I guess if somebody told me that they heard that a new Golden Sun was being remade by Nintendo and Camelot and the Project Octopath Traveler team, I don't know how calm I'd be anymore. I think I would not have a seat, because I probably would have thrown it out the window out of excitement or something stupid. And but hopefully Nintendo reveals that when it's time.
Well, before they do that, it's time for us to say goodbye. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you tighten that subscribe button? It's got a bit of a leak. And be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
Oh gosh, I'm leaking everywhere.
Time to plug all those holes.
Christ. That's not an image I need, Xeon. Not an image I need.
With just corks.
Oh, dear.
That's worse!